Hello and welcome, Inspired Podcast community. This is your new episode. My name is Caroline, and my today's guest is Venchele Saint Dic, and I am so happy that she said yes to our interview. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me.
Wow, amazing. And I would love to introduce you to the audience, of course. You are an Amazon best-selling author and the founder of Pathway Coach Writing. You empower aspiring authors, editors, and businesses to confidently publish across various platforms. Currently pursuing a doctorate in public health leadership, you are passionate about helping others communicate effectively. Welcome to the Inspired Podcast, Venchele.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
So great. Then my first question goes to you, of course. Now it disappeared. What inspired you to found Pathway Coach Writing, and how do you help
Um,
aspiring authors find their voice?
yeah, so I decided to be part of the movement, to start my business pathway coach writing because I didn't see, many people perhaps working with folks who have disabilities, who suffer from mental health challenges. And then also to people who, you know, didn't look like me. And so I wanted to see more people who look like me. I wanted to see more people empowering women, people with disabilities, and people, again, in the behavioral health space, and try to help them talk about their own writing experiences, including the challenges that they faced. And how they overcame them, because I'm a firm believer that personal stories of persistence and growth are always powerful, and if you are navigating like a marketing industry or in the writing, editing, business world, and you don't see these types of books, um, there's someone out there who may need to hear this personal narrative, but again, they don't have access to it because the environment does not is not conducive, to inspire people to write these types of books, right?
I totally understand what you mean. It shines through your doctorate as well, your research, your scientific side, because it's all about statistics, right? And then something is missing, of course, I understand. And then we want to see this by writing. We need leading examples on stage.
Absolutely. No, I am a firm believer of that. Because right now, even when we talk about writing, if you look across social media, and other platforms, there's a heavy emphasis on content marketing. And sometimes the content is not necessary, not all of it may not necessarily be personable, may not resonate, and has more of a business, I'm trying to influence you to buy something, type of mode. And so I think it's so important to disrupt, the writing and editing industry, essentially be positive disruptors in terms of the content marketing and making sure that the content that we share is personable and creates value, that it creates value for the audience that you're trying to talk to, and also shows a dose of vulnerability. um and I think like maybe if we can shift from those, writing these books about the 7 steps of being XYZ, to producing high quality content, that shows vulnerability, um or at least centers around authenticity. I think that, we're probably heading in the right direction in terms of aligning with not only our own brand's messaging and goals, but really creating content that has value.
Wow, I love what you shared, because what I always hear on social media is it's all about content, and they talk content, content, content. Content is king, but they don't talk about bad content and good content. And you differentiate here and you say we must return to very valuable content, let's say, and also to give people, let's say, guidance. What is good content, or what brings them further in their life? And you talked about, yeah, because we have this minimal, how is the word, span of I don't know, of attention, right? We can only concentrate for 20 seconds or so, and then we scroll to the next video, and we call this micro learning. you Yeah, I'm not so into that, but I have also a scientific soul inside of me, so I totally understand what we are talking about now, to bridging this and to come back to very not. And you talked about the content that with the purpose to sell, or it's not about the content itself, it's looking for what sells, and not about what I like to produce. I like to produce this podcast with marvelous interview guests like you all around the
Okay.
world, for example. Yes. Mhm. You want to hear my next question? My next
Absolutely.
question is, how has your background in public health leadership influenced your approach to writing and communication?
I think it just goes back to the authenticity piece that we talked about. I think that my public health background, if nothing else, has given me some leverage to provide like a fresh perspective. Because again, public health also involves like, right, like at least for me, like based on my experience, writing technical reports, writing grants, or implementing, again, written content that is passed down from another entity. And I think that, it helped me kind of not just bring a unique perspective, but also set it apart from the sea of generic content and help, my clients, share their personal experiences from different lenses, whether it's through case studies or finding ways to use data, to make their content more valuable. So I think that regardless of where you are in the process or what fields that you're in, um, there's a way that they teach you how to write that may be very different from someone writing a memoir. But there's also too, I'm sure there's a science out there, but I'm able to do this effortlessly. um is really trying to find different elements of like my technical writing skills and infusing it into like helping someone like write like a novel or a memoir. And maybe this is something I could work on, like how do you actually do that, right? And how do you grab people's attention right away, looking at it from that lens, combining the technical and the creative side of like writing a novel, um, that directly addresses like what the reader will gain and kind of hooks them in right into a story. And so I think if nothing else, it really goes back to authenticity. Audiences resonate with authenticity. Content, the content must be honest, it must be transparent. And public health involves, working with populations that experience health disparities. And so again, it's not too far fetched to see, reports, with anecdotal evidence, from the people who are actually going through, a set problem or issue that we're trying to solve. And so public health has definitely helped me understand how to be honest and transparent, but also aligning with my brand's voice. And then also understanding my values and how those values can help me build trust and strengthen connections with readers or customers.
Wow, that's amazing because when I first came across your bio, I asked myself how does that fit together? You know, I didn't see the connection there. I thought these are two different, totally different fields, public health and and the writing coach, so to say, or
Yes.
it is the word. And now I understand because if the content out there and the written content, whatever, is not healthy, then it is where you come into play with your public health expertise. This is the word. Yes.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Because you're trying to relate to your audience's experiences and emotions, like through storytelling, and empathy to make the content more relatable and impactful. And that's what we do in public health too, right? When you are like reading about the work that's being done in a given community, people are not just going to give you the data, but they're going to tell you the story behind the data, right? And what these numbers mean. These numbers actually represent people, being impacted by an issue. And so, again, the content has to really stir the emotions. And I think that's where I've been trying, and I still do try to find the connections between between my two loves, public health and content writing.
I think for the first time I understood something I did not understand before in all my years of studying. I studied psychology and we had to do with statistics and case studies and whatever, and we collected data. You said it. We collected the data. And what we did when we, for example, we designed questionnaires, or how is the word? Inquiries or something, then we avoided those questions with open questions or like blank fields, and people can insert that this. And now you say this is exactly what we can use to to extract the data by storytelling. I love that, the connection between the science side, and you said you don't know how yet, you don't know how to use or how to combine the two. You named it. The written word is everywhere. I mean, technical
It
document
is.
or patient files. How you call this? The when the doctor writes down the anamnesia, or so I have to invent my word.
I think it's a dissertation, a thesis, like those. Is that what you're referring to?
No, I thought like really simple. The patient comes to the doctor and narrates their story, and then it is documented, and then you extract the data
Oh,
or
sort of like
so.
medical records. I think
Yes,
that's what it may
medical.
be.
Yeah, because it is your task as the scientist to extract those data, and then you combine it to improve the written content, so to say, in the medical field. This is what I understand. So everything what is in written, you are there to improve and to help the people who write this. This is your coaching practice. Yes.
It is. It
Mhm.
is. And then also too, you pointed out something that the audience must understand in terms of, in terms of the relationship between public health and creative writing, which again may not seem obvious at first glance, but they do intersect in powerful ways. And one of the aspects that you touched on is how creative writing can turn abstract health data into relatable narratives. And you provided an example, but again, you see how even when you are transforming this abstract information into a narrative, it's still very much tailored to that patient or tailored to that person. um, and so it goes back to like making sure that it's relatable, right? To create said change or what have you, or to inspire someone to share their stories.
Yes, and to transfer it to the masses so that they understand
Exactly.
it. Yeah, I understand what you mean. And I have
Right.
another question, of course. What do you believe are the most important steps for someone looking to confidently publish their work across different platforms?
I think for me, just looking back on just the various projects that I had the honor to work on is really documenting and memoing, your process and where you are in life. Um, because I think sometimes people come in, and I've worked with clients who come in with just an outline, or they don't have anything and they want us to build like sort of a framework. I think that in order to become a good writer, it is absolutely necessary to start journaling. It could be for 15 minutes a day, it could be for 10 minutes a day, but jot down your thoughts and ask yourself, come up with your own prompts, to question what you're writing. And I think by doing so, that's where books can come from, this level of introspection. And um and then also just making sure that you're not judging yourself as you are engaged in that journaling practice, because it's so easy to put something down on paper, and then as you're questioning it and saying to yourself, well, I should have at least 3,000 or 5,000 words already written down. And that's not the purpose. The purpose is just to jot down your thoughts, which may seem disparate at first, but over time, the mind will try to make a connection between um, all of these different pieces of information. And who knows, if not a book, maybe it could lead to a journal article, maybe it could lead to a magazine article. But just allowing your mind to rest, and question, and just again coming up with these prompts, to start jotting down some ideas, and coming up with some concrete projects. I think that definitely would help.
Wow, I love how you use the word prompt. It's not my mother language, therefore I pay close attention to every word the people use, and I can learn something. Of course, I only know this word from AI, of course, using AI. So we journal and we ask questions, or we write down what we have in mind. And what I realized when I was journaling, then it's like sometimes you have to write some pages until the best part comes out, but it can only come out when you allow yourself, and you mention it, to start. So the message is, just start, do it without thinking, without judging. I love that as well. Thank you so much for sharing.
Absolutely.
Wow, I learned so much. Okay, my last question is about your goals and intentions. Do you set goals? And what is one of your next projects?
Um, so in terms of my next project, I do hopefully plan to write another book. I already have, again, taking my own advice, I already have passages and chapters already written. Um, but I think right now, in terms of intentionality, I'm really refocusing and grounding myself on, my values, and really redefining what personal growth, happiness, or well-being looks like for me. And so what that looks like is that I'm very selective in the projects that I work on, and then how much time do I dedicate to it? Because again, I'm also currently pursuing a doctorate degree in public health leadership, and it's taking a lot of my time, and I'm very much involved in my community, and I want to kind of model the way, for my clients as well. So I'm so glad that you asked the question about what people should do in order to start writing. Um, and I think that one of the underrated topics that I don't see that gets talked about a lot in the US is the value of rest. Because I used to be one of these writers, who again was always on. I was always on the go, and I think sometimes when you do that, your best work cannot come from fatigue. And so, really paying attention to burnout is extremely important. And pacing yourself. Your beginning as a writer is not going to look like the ending of another writer. So that's the reason why, even with social media, I always have to tell myself as a writer that my start is not going to look like this person's this person's ending. um and I don't know how much work that they've had to put in order to even get to where they are. So making sure that you don't compare yourself to other people and compare your success to their success is definitely going to bring a sense of well-being. And it will show even in the writing. And the self-critic's voice will definitely subside. um and so I think that that's where I am right now on my journey, just continuing to model the way, um, and then setting intentions to guide my projects, my processes, and creative journeys, um, and just putting out some positive vibes into the universe, that everything will fall into place and everything will. It may not make sense right now, but it will make sense to me as I continue to trust the process, as I
Wow, that's
continue to be vulnerable, as I continue to share my stories with people.
yes, please continue sharing your story. I'm impressed, and I love what you said about the your beginning is not the end of another writer or something like that. I understand
Mhm.
the message. Of course, I never heard this before. And you talked about put yourself, I don't know if you say put yourself to rest or allow yourself to rest. And then
Absolutely.
it would be self-care as well, and therefore preventing burnout, of course, so important today. And what you said, you are very selective about your time. I'm so honored that you took your time. And I never said this before. I have to admit, right? I have 400, almost 430 guests. Now, I never said this before. I never said thank you for your time. I want to do this.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. I love to be a guest on different podcasts, because that's a way for me to talk to different audiences and get to know you, as the wonderful host of your podcast, because I think people also need to understand that the work that you do is a form of fellowship as well. You're connecting with people whom you probably have never met, never shaken hands with, and you're trying to help them pursue, positive changes in their personal or professional lives. And to me, that's a form of intentionality as well. Like, you being intentional and who you bring on your show, to activate these long-term goals that may have been lying dormant in someone's life, and just encouraging them to pursue their dreams and act with purpose. And so I am very honored that you brought me on your show.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, thank you. I'm speechless. Now it's time normally for your last thoughts, final thoughts to the audience. I know your time is is precious, and yeah,
No,
please.
and just you're probably not waiting for me to say this, but life is a revolving door. Always keep yourself relevant, always keep yourself um striving and growing, and connecting with people whom you would normally not connect with. And so always have a growth mindset, right? And then making sure that at the same time that they align with your core beliefs or long-term goals. Like, I'm here talking about burnout, but again, it also depends on where you come from. Maybe in your culture, maybe in your country, maybe that's something that's already set in place, versus in another country like in the US. This is not something people talk about it. But when we look at the balance between work and life, sometimes it can be non-existent. And it depends on who you work for. And so just being mindful that, you know, we share these messages. I'm sharing all of this with you. And at the end of the day, it has to be tailored to your life. It has to be tailored to what you're trying to accomplish. I know for me, I'm really big on health and wellness. And so rest. is very important to me. And then and just take life one day at a time, because you cannot boil the ocean. And I don't think it is your duty to do so either, because the world is vast. And it really takes a entire communities, to make the world go round. So just always remember that.
Wow, you cannot boil the ocean. I never heard this before. Thank you so much. This was a
You're
great
welcome.
interview.
Thank you.
And see you in the next episode.